Arpita, now start 12 p.m.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. Get ready. Department of Applied Sciences, Galgotias College of Engineering and Technology organizes a webinar on the importance of virtual laboratory and quality of education in the current pandemic scenario. I, Arpita, along with Anshika, Ishita, Daksh, Ishita and other volunteers, heartily welcome you all on the eve of today's event. We today have with us Professor Kantesh Balani, IIT Kanpur, and Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, Rajakiya Engineering College, Banda. Virtual labs are simulated learning environments which allow students to complete laboratory experiments online and explore concepts and theories without stepping into a physical science lab. Let's begin with Saraswati Vandana along with lighting of the lamp.
हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधतीं पद्मासने संस्थिता वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्।
Goddess Saraswati is a symbol of knowledge, music, art, wisdom, and nature. May the divine power blesses us all. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Vipin Kumar Srivastava, organizer of the webinar, Dr. Smriti Deveri, Engineering Chemistry Lab Coordinator, Dr. Vidyut Malik, Physics Lab Coordinator, and Dr. Monica Malik, Coordinator of the webinar. Over to you, Dr. Vipin, sir, for inviting a respected director and HOD for the webinar.
Thank you, Daksh. First of all, I would like to thanks to everyone for joining the webinar. The importance of virtual laboratory and quality of education in the current pandemic scenario. On behalf of Galgotias College of Engineering and Technology, I would like to welcome our speaker, Professor Kantesh Balani sir, Department of Material Sciences, Science and Engineering, IIT Kanpur, and Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, and Research IEC, REC Banda. Now I request to Professor Brijesh Singh sir, Director, Galgotias College of Engineering and Technology, to few words. Welcome, sir. Director, sir.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Daksh. Thank you, Arpita. I would like to welcome our distinguished guest, Professor Kantesh Balani, IIT Kanpur, Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, Dean PG and Research, Rajakiya Engineering College, Banda. I would like to express sincere thanks to our Honorable Chairman, Sir, our CEO, Sir, Sri Dhruv Galgotia, Sir, and I welcome all the HODs, all the faculty members present over here, and all the students. And I would like to express thanks to all those and welcome them to all those who are directly or indirectly involved in this. As the title indicates, the importance of virtual laboratory and quality of education in the current pandemic scenario itself explains the importance of the topic. Although nowadays colleges are not working, students are not coming to the college, so the importance of virtual lab became a very at high pace. So this is a new era in which new jobs will also come, and through this we can offer the quality education. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request to Professor Rajesh Tripathi, HOD Applied Sciences, Galgotia's College of Engineering and Technology, to say a few words, sir.
A very good afternoon to you all. Thank you, Director Sir, for your wishes. On behalf of Department of Applied Sciences, I welcome our esteemed guest speakers, Professor Kantesh Balani Sir and Dr. Ashutosh Tiwari, to express their views on the importance of virtual laboratory and quality of education in the current pandemic scenario. On this occasion, I would like to invite our guest speakers and our Director Sir to inaugurate the annual newsletter of Department of Applied Sciences, The Edge. Being the Chief Editor of The Edge, I would like to thank our Honorable Chairman Sir, our CEO Sir, our Director Sir, and specifically the editors of Dr. Ansar Anjum and Dr. Padam Singh for their contributions in making this successful. Also, I am very much confident that through the precious views of our esteemed speakers, not only the students, but also as faculties, we are going to understand the true benefits of virtual lab, which sites we have to visit, which links we have to see, and how to perform the experiments through simulation. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request to Arpita further proceed.
Now I would like to call Anshika and Kartike to continue the event with inauguration of the annual newsletter, The Edge.
The Department of Applied Sciences, Galgotia's College of Engineering and Technology, with immense pleasure will launch the first edition of as newsletter, The Edge, for the session 2021, which is inaugurated by Professor Kantesh Balani, IIT Kanpur, and Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, Rajkiya Engineering College, Banda. It mirrors the activities, events organized by the department and pinnacles the accomplishment of a student and faculties in research and the other expenses. In our editorial team, we have Professor Rajesh Tripathi as Chief Editor and Dr. Padam Singh Tomar and Dr. Ansar Anjum as editors. Some of the areas covered in this will be the research, development, and awards won by faculties and students, activities of committee, clubs of the departments, and the contribution of our department in the overall growth of our institution.
Now I would like to invite Bipin sir to continue the event.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Professor Kantesh Balani sir, IIT Kanpur. Professor Balani sir is currently professor in the Department of Material Science and Engineering at Indian IIT Kanpur, and he joined as assistant professor in the Department of Materials and Metallurgical Engineering in July 2008. He earned his doctorate in mechanical engineering from Florida International University, Miami in 2007. His research concentrated on role of carbon nanotube dispersion in enhancing the fracture toughness of aluminum oxide nanocomposite, and he has also worked on bioceramic hydroxyapatite coating for biomedical applications. He pursued his postdoctorate research in nanomechanics and nanotribology laboratory and plasma forming laboratory, Florida International University, Miami. He is recipient of several fellowships and awards such as Young Scientist Award by Center of Education Growth and Research, IEI Young Engineer Award by the Institute of Engineers in Metallurgical and Material Engineering discipline, and currently he is a reviewer of over 25 technical journals. Thank you, sir. And an effective virtual laboratory can promote conceptual understanding, and this ability to increase the virtual impact and experience during the experiment and also visualize what is taking place can really help with the student understanding. Many teachers have made more use of virtual labs and simulated experiments during COVID-19 pandemic. As COVID restrictions, we think it is a good time to consider how these novel approaches to practical work can sit alongside hands-on practical work. Now, I request to Professor Balani sir to share his views on virtual lab. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Vipin. I also thank the Galgotias University for inviting me here. Always a pleasure actually to interact with all the students and faculty members. It has become more so during this time of pandemic. I have a small presentation. I thought I will share that. If you allow me to share, I will just get started. I hope my slides are visible.
Yes.
So just having a look, and I like this, image of Galgotias College, taken by Neeraj Pandey sometime in February. Yes. Also in my title, you will see that I have written importance of virtual labs and quality education. I have removed the term pandemic. This pandemic, I think it is temporary. It is not permanent, though the quality of education has to sustain, for lifetime. And that's what is the theme of this current lecture today. So I'll just get started. Give me a second. I'll request everyone to be on mute, and I'll request any coordinator, either Ms. Arpita or Mr. Daksh, to intervene in case someone has any query, so that we avoid any disturbance. So let us get started. So once we want to start, so where do we start? So there's a very nice saying by Lewis Carroll. He was a mathematician and the author of Alice in Wonderland. And there is one quote by King of Hearts or Queen of Hearts. So where do we start? Then they say, let us begin at the beginning and go on till you come to the end and then stop. No, that's very obvious thing, that we start at the beginning and we end, and when it is end we stop. But what is actually very meaningful, or the depth in it is, yes, we need to understand where actually we have to start and where we have to stop. And once you come to Galgotia, make that as a starting point. So once you are admitted at Galgotia, take that as a starting point. Develop which all you can during the tenure of your undergraduate. I know there are many teachers also involved here, but this one I am pitching in for the students so they can benefit from it. And then distinct and be hireable. And Galgotia has to become a launching pad for you. Then sail. Get onto a job, startup, or a higher study. And in this, though this line is mainly for undergraduates, it is no means not suitable to postgraduates or PhD students. At the same time, it is also applicable to faculty members. Why? Because they are the ones who will train the students at Galgotia, right? So this has to be taken in the right spirit, that we are the ones who have to increase or enhance the quality of education. And once during this pandemic, when things are shut down, we are working from home, how can we make this learning more effective, more involving, more invigorating? So that way we can impart the education and make a continued progress in one's life. So why it is very important? Because India has emerged as a knowledge hub, superpower, because of human resources and knowledge enabled working population. We have so many colleges, every other place we have a college, and that's what we are training it for. But the current ecosystem has also some problems. There are much underutilization of human resources. Still it requires literacy, has to be nearly 100%, but we are still sitting at around 65%. Educational institutes, they were on a peak rise, and I think last year around 21 colleges have actually shut down. So because of the low rise in enrollment of students, also large dropout rate. So I emphasize that we have to enhance that involvement of students, enrollment of students, so they continue to contribute to the economy of our country. And again, conventional routes may take very long time. So that's how these virtual labs or these online tools have come to rescue to help us in this mission. And learning, it is not a one-step process. Learning happens over a period of time. It requires effort. So till I think with 10th, 12th class, we are spoon-fed, and we get all the information. Teachers tell us this is the note, and we go on ahead with that. But now that has to stop. Now we know that information is available. We are provided that information. We have to make meaning out of it, and that means that we hear, recite, and then start developing. So from spoon feeding, now it is providing the information, hearing and reciting, and our culture has been so. You might remember the Vedic chanting. It always makes one first remember, recite, and then actually later on in their life they start to get the meaning. And once they are reciting, they will obviously be faced with certain things. So why this is so? Then they start asking questions on how this may happen, and that will also increase the curiosity. Now, once they are being told and they also tend to question things, then they are able to connect various aspects. Unless and until one questions, the connectivity will not develop. We'll take it on its face value, but we'll fail to appreciate the importance of that particular concept. And that actually makes a very important input to self-learning. Though we are being given information, you might think, oh, everything is on the teacher. They should give everything. They will provide all the resources. But in the process, we lose out because we are not trained to do self-learning. So we are not able to develop further. We are not able to question things. We are not able to also introspect. So that's why self-learning is very important. And still, we may be unsure, but we know that self-learning is required. And once we get to know, then it becomes easier to go forward because we know what to practice and what mastering of skills is required. What do we lack? And that is again very important. That is also very important because it provides a state of confidence. Once we start mastering a skill, it provides a state of confidence, and that actually makes us happy. So once we are very unsure because we are completely dependent on someone, as the initial stage, give me a second. And then later on, we start to develop it further and further. And then we get on to being from unsure when we did not know how things are going to transpire, and then finally getting with confidence. That's what is confidence scale, and that will make us also face the world in a better fashion. And again, the learning is, again, I said it is not a single step process. First thing or the first step is, unconscious incompetence. That I may not know anything, but at the same time, I do not know what I do not know. Right? So you don't know that you don't know how to do something. And that is unconscious incompetence. I am a fool, but I don't know that I am a fool. But now transitioning from there to the next level is again very important. And that thing, actually, when we are unconsciously incompetent, we are just living life. We do not know. And that's what actually education helps us remove that particular curtain of, ambiguity or this incompetency from our life. And that's when we start or enter the school, we start to gain some conscious incompetence. That's what happens in schooling. Now you know that we do not know and we want to do something. And it is bothering us because it requires effort. Once I remember, in the class 1, I did not know Kakha, ABCD. Then it took me effort to start writing ABC, learn. So that is a conscious incompetence. That I know that these things are required, but I am struggling to get there. And then once you come little later, then it becomes very obvious to you, oh, this is how I do write ABCD, that's how I form sentences, words. That becomes much, much faster and much easier for you. That is conscious competence. You know that, you know how to do something, and it also takes effort, right? But now with the time you practice, and then automatically it becomes to unconscious competence. So without you even thinking, you can easily write your name, you can easily write sentences, and that part actually takes forward. And same thing is true when you want to learn a new skill, want to learn a new concept. This process will always be there. So this is again, I'm saying that we are going from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence, and that's a 4-step process. And in the only difference is in the first, it is like our eyes are closed. We do not know, we do not care. But in the second one, we are aware, and then it is happening automatically. And that's what the goal of learning should be, to make you a competent person. Even unconsciously, you will be getting or doing the right thing. Because when there are some critical situations, you need to take certain decisions impromptu. And that's where these virtual labs help us a lot. Outreach of virtual labs, it has grown, I think, bounds and pieces. So when it was established after NPTEL, that is National Programming for Technology Enhanced Learning, there were NPTEL lectures, for a particular course. There were 40 lectures in each course. And after its success, MHRD then, now MOE, Ministry of Education, it started, it has started the aspect of virtual lab. And our targets were that we have to reach usage of around 1 lakh, 2 lakh in an year. But we could achieve 10 times more. You can see the numbers were around 20 lakhs, 10 times more. We were not anticipating that. And current status is, after 1.8 years, it has reached 45 million. I'm talking about 4 crore 50 lakhs. Our targets were order of, say, 10, 20 lakhs, or maybe a few lakhs, I think. Only that number were the target. 24,000 for each institute, and numbers for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 lakhs. Over a period of 3 years, it should have been 6 lakhs, but now we are 45 lakhs. And again, if you want to attribute this to pandemic, that may still be incorrect, because we started seeing the rise of these numbers of access to virtual labs starting from January 2020, and the pandemic had started in March sometime, right? So I'm just highlighting that this has become the need of the hour, because that's how we are attuned to. So this is the need of the hour. What are the objectives of virtual lab? It is to provide remote access to virtual labs, inculcate the learning of sciences and engineering, mainly cater to the class of 11th, 12th, undergraduate, postgraduate, as well as research scholars. Also, it is to enthuse students to conduct experiments. And why experiments are very much required, I will highlight that a little later. But it helps in arousing the curiosity. It will help us to learn the basic skills, at the same time apply the advanced concepts. And this all is possible even via remote experimentation. So experiments are important, and remote experimentation also are very important. At the same time, it provides us complete learning management system. So if I'm sitting in a lab or sitting in a lecture, I may not know the concept what teacher is teaching. I may miss out what is meant by, say, plasticity. And because of that, I will lose out what the teacher is saying next, right? So I will miss out on this. If I want to follow, then I will miss out on the concept. But now here, I may have an additional link available. I can click on that, I can learn, and then continue my learning. So that's why it gives a complete learning management system. It also has additional web resources, video lectures, also some animations, also a portal for self-evaluation. So that's why it makes it complete. Also, the idea is to share costly equipment, which otherwise are limited only to, say, a few institutes. And also, they do not use it for 24 hours all 7 days a week. They might use it only for 8 hours in a day. So that way, we can now make sure that the equipment also is getting used up across the globe, as per se, because of virtual lab. What is the concept of virtual lab? What is a virtual lab? It is a web-enabled system for remote learning. And it emphasizes doing experimentation at own pace. Because in a class, we will appreciate that a teacher might take 70% people, while they're delivering the lecture. And the instructor may have 15% or 10% students who are extremely bright. So for them, pace is very slow. Or they think, the pace should have been faster. There may be another 15-20% students who, for them, the pace is very fast. And they will expect the teacher should go a little slower. But the class hour is, say, 1 hour or 50 minutes, and teacher has to cover the syllabus as well. So that becomes a tricky part, how to balance the pace. But this is a remote learning, and here one can learn at their own pace. You want to spend 1 hour on one topic, you can do so. You want to spend 3 hours on a different topic, you can do so. So that way it makes it very impactful. Learning at own place. So sometimes one person may feel, discomforted sitting, in the classroom. Though the classroom concept is, as a different take altogether, it is to inculcate discipline. But say for outside the class, or if I'm more comfortable sitting in a coffee shop and then learning, or someone may be more comfortable sitting in library. Someone will be more comfortable lying down on the bed and then learning. So the place of comfort is also very important to revise, to learn, or gain new knowledge. Third aspect is learning anytime. Typically, the labs are placed either in the morning 9 to 12 or afternoon 2 to 5 p.m. It may not suit me. I may be more fresh early in the morning, say 6 a.m., but lab will not open for me. For someone else, they might be more fresh later in the night at say 11 p.m. Want to do experiment from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. The lab will not open for them. But virtual lab is always open. Now they can do experiments anytime, any place, at any place. So own pace, own place, and any time. So that's what actually makes it more accessible and more appealing to current students. And such labs will always help learning basic concepts as well as applying those particular concepts. And this is required at all the levels to ensure that people get motivated for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths, and then also ensuring that a good quality research, ideas are emanated or generated using these virtual labs. And the challenge is to also establish virtual labs in major areas. So I'm glad to say that, Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, who is the next speaker, he has initiated incepting a committee for virtual labs, and we are seeking more inputs, involvement of faculty members as well as a group of students to get involved, form a team, and then really create a virtual experiment. It may not be 10 experiments, it may be just one experiment, but it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort, but we always shy away. It's not that we cannot do. It's just that we are hesitant. So I'll urge everyone to come forward, propose that you want to develop an experiment, and we'll happy to guide you further. We'll provide you the required mentoring. You will require a group of 1 teacher, faculty member, 3 or 4 students who will actually work on the problem, and 1 person from computer
Recording
science
in progress.
Help you with actually to design, design that particular experiment. So that way we can help you out to take it forward. Now coming to virtualization, for a virtual lab, virtualization is very important. There are various ways of virtualization. So first is remote trigger and control. So which means that sitting in Noida, I want to conduct an experiment in Delhi or in Bombay or in Chennai. I just need access to computer, and then I click on that and I perform the experiment. But you will appreciate that here I need a actual equipment sitting somewhere. I need a technician to put the sample on that machine. I need a good internet connectivity to also run, from sitting from Noida, I want to run experiment in say Bombay. Now imagine that, somehow the connection was lost. You clicked something and connection was lost, and the machine did not recognize that command, and that actually damaged the equipment in Bombay. So that was the bottleneck. And secondly, only 1 person can operate at a time. You need a technician sitting near the equipment. So again, it cannot be operated 24/7. But nonetheless, these are the ways through which you can help performing an experiment. That was generation 0, the initial generation of experiment, but that helped appreciating the experiment. Second one is measurement based. So a couple of universities, they have the high-end equipment where they can conduct that experiment, get the values at known parameters, and then share it with everyone. That is measurement based experiment. So in the measurement based experiment, we are just sharing what can be done on certain parameter. That also provides some good insight to what that experiment can provide you. And there'll be definitely theory, procedure, literature, what the results mean, discussion. That thing is always there. But that is generation 1. Now generation 2 was also adding a video recording. So while a person is conducting the experiment, they also record this. So one can play back and then appreciate how the experiment was conducted. You might think it is the same thing, measurement based, whether I'm just adding video recording, but no. This adds value because subconsciously person also gets to know how big the sample is, how much care is being taken, what is the appreciable size of the sample with respect to the person who's handling it, how the chuck looks like, how the machine looks like, and so on. Right? That also adds value. That is generation 2. Recently now, because of the limitations that these are still recorded based. So it is dependence on the person who has already made those virtual lab. I cannot vary the parameter. So that's why this simulation based experiments have come, which will allow the user to also alter the parameter. But understand, these will be only under ideal conditions. Simulation based experiments are only under ideal conditions, but now they can be added with animation, they can be added with teaching basic concepts. And so that's how these 4 aspects, remote trigger initially was transitioned to measurement based, then video recording, and then now simulation based experiments. And that ultimately helps us virtualize. That is the ultimate goal of these virtual labs. And again, I will emphasize on one part, that learning pyramid comes in 4 parts. Though you saw from unconscious incompetence to conscious unconscious competence, there are certain physical paths which are required. So first thing is we need to conduct experiment, because you will also appreciate that in a classroom, the teacher will give out certain lecture and all that. Things look very good. They look very logical, very cogent and coherent. But when we give exams, then we realize, oh, we do not know these things, and we are not able to score. Everyone doesn't score 100 on 100. So that is what, because because a person thinks they know, but they know it incorrectly, right? So sometimes it becomes little difficult to appreciate that part. Second thing is we are not able to associate that learning with some action, and that will happen once you are performing an experiment. And that's what happens in multiple institutes, that we have a team of 3 or 4 students and they conduct an experiment. And that's what is the first part, that I start collecting data. So I am given a typical, for an experiment, there will be 3 or 4 students, and now they start to conduct. And now they will start, at this particular point, I get this reading, at this point, I get this reading, I submit my results and discussion, and then done. But here it is only conducting an experiment. Because until and unless we start varying the parameters by creating our own design, it becomes a little trickier. So once I start varying the parameters, if I did the test at room temperature, I may also do that, higher temperature for those variations. Now it helps me connect various parts. So first of all, I was just gathering the data, doing the experiment, but now I start connecting the parts. And by now, I start to see how these parameters interact among one another. If I have a smaller sample size, if I have a high impedance, if I have some other varying parameter of the extension rate at which I'm conducting mechanical testing, I start to see that these parameters are actually interacting among themselves. And that's what they form a whole. So from conducting an experiment to designing an experiment. Is very much required. So that's what this learning pyramid is. So from only data collection, it transitions to information, knowledge, and then to wisdom. And that's where we need to reach. So that's how these virtual labs are being designed, mainly in the simulation base, though earlier ones are more onto measurement based or video recording based. But how to use these labs? So ideally start with self-analysis. I may not have time to actually take you through a lab, though I would have loved to, but take self-analysis first, followed by seeing what is the aim and specific objective. The reason I'm telling you should start with self-analysis test is because you need to know where do you stand. Once you know where do you stand, then actually take go and have a look at what is the aim and objective of that particular experiment. Go through introduction, theory, methodology. There might be NPTEL lectures associated with that particular experiment. Take a look at that and see the videos of the experiment. There might be some simulation if required, and replay these videos if required. Perform the simulation or perform the experiment, vary as per your choice. And for certain experiments, the conditions might be fixed, but nonetheless, it will provide you a good feel. And then come back to results analysis, see how the things are making sense, and see the discussion part. And at the end, come back to self-analysis. So from this was your baseline, and then how you actually perform. So now you know how much you have gained over a period of time by going through the virtual lab, right? So this is again self-analysis at the end. And that's how you should use the virtual lab. And one more part I will highlight, don't limit your learning to your discipline. Things have become highly interdisciplinary. You also will find some labs on, say, English grammar, music, or something else. So do ensure that you are learning as much as possible, also in the relevant or some additional disciplines as well. That's very much required. And what are the benefits? They will help you learn, apply concepts, would create an interest for further studies or research, and now they will also get ideas to perform. What are the research potential research topics? And also we need not duplicate the equipment. And you can, once you do a virtual lab experiment, you can always approach that particular person who has developed the virtual lab. Because if you are pursuing your master's or PhD, want to conduct an experiment, you can always approach that person and say, since you have the facility available, can you please help me conduct this experiment? Now also you will get a higher understanding because of simulation tools, and they can be used as interfaces. You can apply certain conditions which are practically not possible. Like if I want doing a test with the pendulum, I can give the length of the string as 1 kilometer, right? That may not be practically possible. But no, these things are also possible via simulation. So also we are encouraging people to develop everything on open platform. So that also becomes a good learning tool. So things can be translated to those who do not have a licensed software version. If I have developed something on, say, MATLAB or any other platform or Abacus, that may not be available anywhere else. So, and then it becomes a hindrance in terms of learning. So now we are focusing more on using open platforms to develop all this learning, material. How to go ahead? Modern age is bringing definitely new forms of educational processes. Because if I just think of maybe say 10 years down, 10 years, 15 years back, as a student, we never had any cell phone. Even when I became PhD, then maybe very limited people had cell phones with them. But now everyone has a cell phone. So can we not utilize the cell phone and make the lab reach you through that cell phone? Now, that is the advantage of utilizing the current technology, in the educational system. So, and again, in engineering education, we have both theoretical as well as lab work, which are mandated. And so that can be, allowed or maybe encompassed, and then it can reach you with great ease. Also, we can make these labs reach you wherever you want and whenever you want. So whenever you want or wherever you want. So it can be learning at your own pace, own place, and own time. And also they are very good platforms for performing lab work, right? So that's how these things are coming, helping us learn and retain that particular understanding, because we're able to associate that with an activity. If a mind gets engaged and it can associate that with that particular activity. I think I have spent enough time, but in the end, I will again say that no virtual lab can replace hands-on laboratory. So hands-on experience is a must. So you will say, then why was I talking last 20-30 minutes only on virtual labs, when I'm saying that no virtual lab can replace real hands-on? So I will give you maybe 10-20 seconds to think on it. Why am I saying that? So first thing is, yes, because virtual labs are typically on real life, the experiments are on real life based scenarios, whereas simulations are actually on an ideal condition. So whatever you're doing experimentally, so that will be a little different than what you might anticipate if things were completely ideal. So then why do we need to do virtual labs at all? It is not a waste. It is highly required. And I'm emphasizing this word highly because, say, just imagine now two scenarios. I am going to do an experiment hands-on when I know something and when I do not know anything. When I do not know anything, just go by, oh, these are the conditions I need to perform. I should be careful not to damage any equipment. I have to get the data, submit the report to the teacher, and I am done. So in the entire process, I was just performing it mechanically, right? There was not much learning, though there was some activity, but that was not much learning as it could have been. Now in the second scenario, when I've gone through virtual labs, I already know that this is what I can expect from doing this experiment. these are the interactions which may be possible, and this is what I can anticipate. There might be, interaction among the various parameters. So that makes me more confident. And when I'm doing the experiment, my attention is more towards, oh, this is what I'm going to expect. Does it happen or not? Right? I'm more curious. So that actually, enhances your confidence and learning through that particular experiment. So virtual labs have to be an integral part of any learning. What is expected of you? Utilize these websites for interactive learning. Also encourage your peers and colleagues and tell them this thing is available. And then get on to learning. Learn experiments from other disciplines also. Encourage and expose students to learn from the provided material. You may think, oh, I know it, but sometimes we do not know it correctly. So we should also go through self-analysis and also contribute and provide constructive feedback. Participate in creating this virtual experiment. And I think you will get entire support from our end as and when you need. So please ensure that you also contribute back. So that is again very much required. Excuse me. So in the end, I will acknowledge Ministry of Education for this particular initiative. Professor Ranjan Bose from IIT Delhi, currently is the director of IIIT Delhi, and also local organizers at Galgotias, IIT Kanpur for providing the resources. Also, in the end, I will highlight that there are plenty of obstacles in our path as teacher, as a student. We can always say, oh, right now there is pandemic, I don't have facility, oh, I don't have a good library, oh, my college is not subscribed to this particular journal, oh, the quality of student or teacher is not good. Multiple obstacles. But don't let yourself become one of the obstacles. Right now, you have entire repository. There's a chance of self-analysis, feedback. So learn as much as possible. Try to upgrade yourself. And again, I keep telling that unless teachers succeed, India is not going to succeed. And by teachers, I also mean the current students who also become teachers to their juniors. Right? So it is for everyone to keep learning, keep upgrading themselves. And I think it is very much required so that we enhance the capable population of India and keep contributing to building the economy and manpower in India. Right. So with this, I close. I thank for your patient listening. I'll stop sharing. I'll be happy to take up if there are any queries or questions. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Balani, for the wonderful sharing on the virtual lab and their importance and especially their requirements in the present and the future. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Ashutosh Tiwari. Dr. Tiwari is Dean, PG Research and Registrar at Rajaki Engineering College, Banda. He has done his postdoc in nuclear engineering from IIT Kanpur. He has more than 11 years of teaching experience and published more than 27 research papers in various international journals of repute. His research interest lies in the safety analysis of power plants, thermal barrier coatings, and development of virtual labs. He has conducted India's first Bootathon at Rajaki Engineering College, Banda, in collaboration with IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay, and IIT Delhi for the development of virtual labs. He is a member of various societies like Indian Nuclear Society, life member of Indian Association of Physics, Indian Science Congress, and Indian Society of Technical Education, and many more. So I welcome Dr. Tiwari. Please continue the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Smriti. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Visible.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute. So to begin with, first of all, I would like to thank Sri Sunil Galgotia ji, Chairman Galgotia's Educational Institutions, Mr. Dhruv Galgotia ji, CEO Galgotia's Educational Institutions, Dr. Brajesh Singh ji, Director Galgotia College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Bipin Kumar Srivastav, organizer of the event, Dr. Smriti Dwivedi, Dr. Vidyut Malik, Dr. Monica Malik, Dr. Rajesh Tripathi for organizing this wonderful webinar on virtual laboratory, importance of the virtual laboratory and quality education in the current pandemic scenario today. And also I would like to thank Professor Balani also for sharing this wonderful talk just now, and he is the man behind all these activities going on, and a key resource persons to us. So let me begin with I just share you that the virtual labs cell has been formed at AKTU, because we all are affiliated. Galgotia is also affiliated to AKTU, so we should be aware that the virtual lab cell has been formed on 23rd of April 2020, and this was the letter of the formation. Professor Balani is also the member of the virtual lab cell at AKTU. And also this link is very important for us, because someone was asking in the chat about the links. So I just thought to share the various important links. So this is the AKTU portal, which we usually see. And if you click on this link, then you can go to the academics, and in the academics tab, there is virtual lab. So when you click on the virtual lab, it is having the virtual lab cell information, virtual lab webinars which have been previously conducted. The mapping of the virtual labs is also available with the various engineering disciplines. The name of the lab as per the code is available, and in front of that name, the link of various virtual labs is available. So you can, since this meeting is also being recorded, so this can be the reference for the faculty members and the students of the Galgotia College, that they can just go through this link and find out all the virtual lab mappings. So these are the participating institutes: IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Madras, IIT Roorkee, IIT Guwahati, IIT Hyderabad, Amrita University, Dayal Bagh University, and ITK Surathkal, and COE Pune. And broad areas for the virtual labs are electronics and communication engineering, computer science and engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, chemical engineering, biomedical and biotechnology engineering, chemical sciences and physical sciences. So nearly all the areas of science and engineering are covered in the virtual labs. And you can visit this website, www.vlab.co.in. So this is all the virtual labs are hosted on this portal, and this is the one common website to access all the virtual labs. So let me share some of the activities of the virtual lab nodal center at Rajki Engineering College, Banda. We became the virtual lab nodal center at Rajki Engineering College, Banda on 16th of November 2018, and then team from RCC Banda visited Gujarat University boot camp in January 2019. Then there we have developed the first lab on Stephen's law by the team of REC Banda at the Gujarat University boot camp, and this lab is hosted on the portal of IIT Bombay. Then 2 students of the virtual lab club at REC Banda were selected for the National Summer Virtual Lab Development Internship at IIT Bombay, and then we received a grant for the development of virtual labs from MHRD, now Ministry of Education, in collaboration with IIT Kanpur. Organized India's first virtual lab development bootathon from 4th November 2019 to 10th November 2019 at Rajki Engineering College, Banda, and formed the virtual lab club at REC Banda. Around 60 students of REC Banda are actively involved in the development of the virtual labs. Our 5 students of the virtual lab club at REC Banda undergone the paid internship at IIT Kanpur, and currently we are having this figure has changed. Now there are 18 nodal centers. Virtual lab nodal centers of IIT Kanpur through Rajki Engineering College, Banda have been formed. And also we have conducted, this figure is also raised. Now we are having more than 30 virtual lab webinars conducted through Rajki Engineering College, Banda. So this, we got the letter from IIT Kanpur that on 16 November 2019 we became the virtual lab nodal center, and now we have been promoted to the regional nodal center affiliated to IIT Kanpur. And then these are some glimpses of the Gujarat University boot camp which we have visited, and these are the team of the students who have developed the first virtual lab on the Stephen's law. And then our students who got the internship at IIT Bombay, Aditi Nishad and Mohitendra Damalia. And then we have conducted the India's first bootathon on 4th to 10th November 2019 in collaboration with IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, and IEEE, IICA, Startup India, and TQ3. So all around 200 participants in the form of 27 teams from different parts of the country participated here, and the links or details can be accessed from this link. So let me skip this. This is also, now this is the important information that how to contribute to the development of the virtual labs. So till now, in collaboration with the IIT Kanpur and AKTU Lucknow, Rajkin, we have conducted 4 e-bootathons, and all the virtual labs which are developed in the e-bootathons are hosted on this platform. So I think that I can take you this site first. So this is the site ebootathon.com, where you can visit and find the information about the labs developed by IIT Kanpur Bootathon, which happened in 2019. So what are the labs developed, and you can directly go to the links of those labs and perform the experiments. So this is the labs which were developed by various colleges affiliated to AKTU in eBootathon 1, and links are provided here. Similarly for the eBootathon 2, eBootathon 3, and eBootathon 4. So I'm just emphasizing on this one because these links, these labs are mapped to the syllabus of AKTU. So this can help us a lot in finding the various experiments related to various domains of the engineering discipline. So we are having currently 18 nodal centers affiliated to IIT Kanpur through Rajकीय Engineering College Banda, Madan Mohan Malviya University of Technology Gorakhpur, RR Institute of Modern Technology Hitapur Road Lucknow, IIT Ram Manohar Lohia Abad University Faizabad, KCNIT Banda, BN College of Engineering and Technology Lucknow, Rajकीय Engineering College Bijnor, Royal Institute of Technology and Management Lucknow, Access Institute of Technology and Management Kanpur, Buddha Institute of Technology Gorakhpur, Bundelkhand BIT Jhansi, RKGIT Ghaziabad, Institute of Technology and Management Gorakhpur, Meerut Institute of Technology, IIMT College of Engineering Greater Noida, School of Management Sciences Lucknow, Greater Noida Institute of Technology, Dr. AIT Bangalore, and HBTU Kanpur. These are the 10 labs on physics we have developed in collaboration with IIT Kanpur, and these are the part of the syllabus of AKTU currently we are having. So these 10 experiments are readily available on this link and also hosted on the national portal blab.co.in now. So that can be accessed, and the students of engineering first year from all the branches can perform these experiments. So I think that this will be of the more interest that if I could show any one experiment to the students. So let me take you to this lab quickly. And this is on the determination of energy band gap of a given semiconductor material. So this is the experiment in the engineering physics first at AKTU. So when I go to this link, the virtual lab portal appears as in this way. First of all, you will find the aim of the experiment. So if you go there, the aim is the title of the experiment is energy band gap of the semiconductor, and the aim is to determine the energy band gap of semiconductor. Then when the student clicks on the theory part, so the basic information about the experiment is given in the form of this theory and what is the basic equation working behind the experiment, and about various terms. So this is the reverse saturation current which flows in the PN junction diode during the reverse bias, and Eg is the energy band gap and K is the Boltzmann constant, and T is the absolute temperature of the junction. So if we take the log of both the sides, this relation becomes log Is base 10 is equal to certain constant minus 5.04 Eg 10 to the power 3 by T. If we plot a graph between log Is and 10 to the power 3 by T, it comes to be a straight line graph with a negative slope, and the slope when it will be calculated will be equal to 5.04 multiplied by Eg. Eg is the energy band gap. So if anyhow we plot the graph between log Is and 10 to the power 3 by T and calculate the slope of the graph and just divide it by 5.04, we will get the energy band gap of the semiconductor which is used in the PN junction diode. So this is the basic circuit diagram of the experiment, we need a 0 to 20 volt DC power supply, and a voltmeter is connected which can measure the potential difference which is being applied to the PN junction, and a microammeter is connected in series to the PN junction. When any student goes through this basic theory part, then he should perform the pre-test, as the Professor Balani has also said in his talk. The pre-test should be performed so that the student may be able to know that he knows the basics of the experiment which he is going to perform. So let me take this quickly, since I know the answers. So if I click on the A part of this pre-test, and then the A1 of this one also, and then third A, the energy band gap of the silicon, and then fourth B part. And then I have to submit, which says 4 out of 4. Similarly, if I click on any wrong answer, it will tell me that I have attempted 3 questions out of 4 correctly, and this one is the wrong question, which is being highlighted as the red part. Then after performing this pre-test, I should go to the procedure. So now this is important to know here that the procedure which is mentioned here is altogether different with the procedure what we perform in our hardware labs, in the physics labs. So this procedure has been designed how the student will be able to perform the experiment through the virtual lab portal or in the online mode. So it says that click on the enable power button and then choose the correct image. After the correct answer, cross the image and so on. So one can go through all these steps of the procedure so that the student will be able to know what procedure he has to follow to perform the simulation. Now let us go to the simulation quickly, and I will show in next 5 to 10 minutes that how the experiment is being performed. So if we click on the simulation of this energy band gap experiment, it says us to enable power first. When I click on the enable power button, then review questions comes here, and this question we have inserted in because if the student is able to answer this question correctly, then the simulator will allow him to proceed further. And this is also important for us because unless the student knows the theory part clearly and what is the objective of the experiment which is going to be performed, he will not be able to perform the experiment properly. And also, it may
your
happen.
browser window is not showing, sir.
Pardon?
Sir, your browser window is not showing. Please
Okay.
share your Explorer.
Okay, sure. Now you can see.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So again, I should start from the basic itself. Wait a minute. So when you go to the link, this one, BOP dash, yeah, let me show you from virtual lab itself. vlab.co.in. Now it is visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
When we go to the virtual lab site, we see all these broad areas. And when we click on the physical sciences, we come across these new labs, that basics of the physics lab, which is developed by IIT Kanpur. When we click on the basics of the physics lab, we come across various lists of the experiments. And in this, all these 10 experiments which are mentioned here are there in the syllabus of engineering syllabus first year of AKTU syllabus. So let us perform this energy band gap experiment first of all. So when we click on the energy band gap experiment, we see the aim of the experiment is there. The aim is mentioned to determine the energy band gap of the semiconductor. Then the theory part. So this is the basic information given about the experiment and what is the theory behind the experiment and which equation is exactly working. So as we all know that in the reverse bias, the saturated value of the reverse current for a PN junction diode is given by IS is equal to A into T to the power 3 by 2 into E to the power minus EG divided by KT, where K is the Boltzmann constant, EG is the energy band gap of the PN junction, and A is the constant term. IS is reverse saturation current. So if we take the log of both sides of this equation, this relation converts into a linear relation. log IS is equal to certain constant minus 5.04 into Eg multiplied by 10 to the power 3 by T. If we plot a graph between 10 to the power 3 by T and log IS, we will get a straight line graph with slope as 5.04 into Eg. And if we calculate the slope of this graph and divide it by 5.04, we will get the energy band gap of the PN junction semiconductor material which is used in the PN junction in the experiment. And this is the basic circuit diagram which we use in our hardware experiments also, that we connect it to the 0 to 20 volt DC power supply. Then a voltmeter is connected in parallel to the PN junction in order to know that what is the potential difference being applied to the PN junction, and a micrometer is connected in series. So once we have gone through the theory part, we can attempt the pre-test. This pre-test is there to check that whether the student is standing before performing the experiment. So if we attempt this question, the plot of 10 to the power 3 by T and log IS for PN junction diode in the reverse bias case, so we know that the first option is correct. So I just click on A part. And second option, similarly, second also part is okay. Third one, fourth one is the B part is okay. So if we click on submit quiz, then it is showing that 4 out of 4 answers I have given correctly. But anyhow, any student clicks on any other option and then submits the quiz, it shows that 3 out of 4 questions are correct. And the incorrect questions is highlighted with the red color. So again, he has to go back to the theory and refer what is happening so that he will may be able to answer it correctly. Unless he answers all the questions correctly, he should not proceed for performing the experiment in the simulator, because definitely he is lacking in the theory part and he will not be able to get the desired results. Then we click on the procedure. So as we see that the procedure here is click the enable power button, choose the correct image, after correct cross the image and so on. So the procedures mentioned here are entirely different from the procedure what we perform or adopt in the hardware experiments while performing in our physical labs. So these procedures are designed so as the student can perform the virtual lab experiments through the simulators. Now, after reading this procedure part, the student can perform the simulation by clicking on the simulation button, and the simulator appears like this. So first we have to click on the enable power, and after clicking on the enable power button, we can see a pop-up window which is asking a question to the student: among the following graphs, which graph is plotted for the semiconductors in the energy band gap experiment? So similarly, the pop-ups will appear in different experiments. This is there to ask that the student is still prepared to perform the experiment or not. So we know that the second option, that is the image 2, is correct for this experiment, that the graph between log IS and 10 to the power 3 by T is a straight line graph with negative slope. So we click on the image 2, which the pop-up window again comes, which shows that you chose the correct answer and please proceed further. So we click on OK and then cross the image. Now you can see that this is now turned into green color, and now it is asking about disabling power if we wish to stop the simulator here. And also a message is coming that the simulation has been started. Then we click on place the container and click on this drawing board so that virtually a container comes and which is filled with a certain liquid. Then PN junction diode comes here. A battery is placed like this. A meter is placed. A voltmeter is placed. These are the points to help us to draw proper circuit and neat circuit diagram. We can place these point contacts and then click on the connect to connect all the circuital elements like this. So a virtual wire will be connected in this way. In this way, we can complete the circuit diagram. And in order to measure the temperature of this liquid and also the temperature of this PN junction, we have to place a virtual thermometer here. Now, all the circuital arrangements we have made, and then we have to set the potential difference across the PN junction. We have to select the voltage. So there are 5 different voltage values 1 volt, 2 volt, 3 volt, 4 volt and 5 volt. So let us take 1 volt potential difference which is being applied to the PN junction virtually in this experiment. And also when we click on this button, so it says as that the selected voltage is 1 volt. Again, we have to choose the temperature from here, which will be the temperature of the liquid virtually and also the temperature of the PN junction. So let me take the temperature as let us say 5 degrees, and then I click on find the saturation current. So I click on the find saturation current. It is giving me the value as 3.030 microamperes. Again, I will move this slider to a different value. Let us take the 10 degrees Celsius and then click on the find current here. It is showing a different current, 3.686 microampere. Now we have to note down these values. At least 8 observations we have to take in this way to fill the table given below. Then we have to take the temperature, different one. I have taken the temperature as 15 degrees Celsius, and then I just click on this one. It gives me the reverse saturation current as 4.453 and so on. In this way, the 8 observations are to be taken. So I have taken all these 8 observations, and I'm just going to fill this observation table for you to create. So at 5 degrees, we have seen that the reverse saturation current was 3.030 microampere. At 10 degrees, it was 3.686 microampere. At 15 degrees, it was 4.453. At 20 degrees, it was 5.346. At 25 degrees, it is 6.379. At 30 degrees, it is 7.568. At 35 degrees, it is 8.927. At 40 degrees, it is 10.476. So when one can move the slider and check all these values. So when we have filled all these temperature values and the reverse saturation current in this table, then we should click on the calculate data button. When we click on the calculate data button, it is now giving us the temperature in Kelvin. So 5 degrees, on adding 273, it becomes 278 and so on. So now the temperature is converted into Kelvin, and the reverse saturation current which we are having is the logarithmic of that reverse saturation current is taken in this column. Log IS values are there. And also simultaneously we are getting the 10 to the power 3 by T values, means 1000 divided by this temperature. So if we divide 1000 by 278, we can get this value 3.60 and so on. Now, in order to calculate the slope, we need to plot the graph between 10 to the power 3 by T and log IS. So if we click on the draw graph button, we get this graph. Now, the beauty of this graph is this: by taking the cursor to any point on the graph, we can get the x coordinate and the y coordinate of that particular point up to certain values of the decimal places. Now, suppose I took my cursor at this point and noted down this value up to 2 decimal places only. So the x coordinate can be 3.19 and the y coordinate can be 1.02. Similarly, I drag my cursor somewhere else. Let us take this value, and this can be taken as 3.41 and the y coordinate is 0.72. If we place the x and y coordinate here by putting a comma, that 3.19 comma 1.02 here, and another coordinate is we have taken as 3.41 comma 0.73. Now if we click on the find slope graph, so the slope is calculated for this graph as minus 0.759. Negative sign in this expression indicates that the slope of the graph is negative, as we also see here. If we put the slope of this graph as 0.759 here, 0.759, it will be automatically divided by 5.04, and when we click on the calculate button, it is giving us the energy band gap as 0.151 electron volt. So in this way, the student can perform the energy band gap experiment, and also he can change the values of the potential difference being applied here and perform the same experiment for the different values. So once the simulation has been performed, the student is supposed to perform the post-test, and similarly the post-test questions are given here, that we know that. And also the beauty of these post-test questions is, unless the student will be able to perform the simulator experiment, he will not be able to know that what will be the value of the current in the PN junction at temperature 60 degrees Celsius when the applied potential is 5 volt. So he has to again go back to the simulator and check that at temperature 60 degrees Celsius what is the, and potential 5 volt, what is the reverse saturation current. So the answer to this question is the B part, that is 20 microamperes. Similarly, the answer to the question 2 is also the B part, answer to the question 3 is B, and answer to the question 4 is the A part. And the student can submit the quiz in this way. Also, for further reading, the student and the faculty members can refer these references from which the data for making this experiment, for performing this experiment has been taken. So these are all the resources from which the data of the energy band gap and the simulation experiment has been taken. And do not forget to give your feedback at the end after performing this experiment. So this was the virtual lab simulation on the energy band gap simulator. Similarly, the students can perform various other experiments also. So this was all from my side. I just thought to share the experiment. I will just stop sharing here. And also like to take some questions on this.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Moving further, in today's webinar, next we have question and answer session. Here, I request our honorable speakers to answer few questions by our audience. Here, our respected teacher, Dr. Vidyut Malik, will also be joining us. So, I request, sir, to start the session by asking the very first question to our speaker.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for demonstrating the experiment how to perform in virtual lab. So, we have few questions from the participants. So, one question is from our HOD, sir. To which platform students contact or interact when they have some idea to develop simulation of an experiment? Means if anyone wants to develop experiment simulation of experiment, how should they contact?
I will just share my email ID, because we are regularly conducting the bootathons, and these bootathons which we conduct are there to ask the various faculty members of AKTU as well as other faculty members of different universities who wish to contribute for the development of these labs. Since becoming the part of the virtual lab cell at AKTU, we try to emphasize on this, that first of all we should try to develop all those labs which are not available for the AKTU syllabus. That is the gap areas, and gap areas is also there at the AKTU website with the link I have shown it on the virtual lab platform. Because most of the time it happens that we get suggestions from the various faculty members and the team of the students that we wish to develop the lab on this, and certain times the lab is already present there. So in order to avoid the replication of the data and also to cover the gap areas for which the lab is not there, we insist faculty members and the students who wish to contribute to first go through the link which is available on the AKTU website and try to cover the gap areas only. So that is very well available at the AKTU website. You can go through, and when we have asked Dr. Bipin also to send us the letter so that the Galgotia College can also become the nodal center.
Yes, sir. Yes.
When you will become the nodal center, we will continuously keep on sharing the various informations related to the development to you. And you will also become the part of this development team. So, and after that, we will ask you to propose certain experiments which are not there in the AKTU syllabus, and expect the team of the students as well as the group of the faculty members to propose and come in the form of the teams. And recently we are trying to have some more bootathons, and also if the Galgotia Institute becomes to take some enthusiasm in this area, can propose a bootathon also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So it will be a good opportunity for us to become part of this.
Yes, sir.
So next question is, will virtual lab replace the real lab in future? So I think this question has already been answered by Balani sir, Professor Balani sir. So
Yeah, Professor Balani has answered, this is not the substitute of the real lab.
yeah. So and the next question is from Ayushi. What's the central advantage of learning in a virtual space?
Pardon, Vidhu sir, can you repeat the question?
Can you, yes, repeat.
What's the central advantage? What's the central advantage of learning in virtual lab?
No, in the current scenario, what is the theme of the today's talk? In the current scenario of the pandemic, it is very difficult. Colleges are not open. Students are sitting at their home. How they will be able to perform the experiments? So sitting at their home, they can perform the experiment through their desktop itself. And also it is enabled, we are going on to the Android version also. Later we will have this competency, then the students can have these laboratories available on the Android platform. They can perform these experiments through their mobile itself, just like they are playing any video game.
Yes.
The beauty of these experiments is this, that certain professors and the team of the students have performed these experiments in the hardware labs, and the data which is being incorporated here mimics the real experiments. So whatever you get here, suppose you get the certain value of the energy band gap and the data of the reverse saturation current and the temperature which I have shown, exactly same data, nearly same data you will get in the hardware experiments. So these virtual lab experiments are very close, the results given by these virtual lab experiments are very close to the hardware experiments which we perform in our labs.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. So another question is from Daksh, that when we do experiment in lab, we have some error, but in virtual lab we don't have errors. So how we can overcome this in practical?
No, because these have been modeled. Some mathematical model is working behind that. No, some model is working, and ideal situations have been taken. So also there is a open window there that we can mimic these situations, or if we want to do certain alterations, then becoming the part of the developer community, we can alter this experiment and input our parameters there.
Yeah, so that's true actually. We can't get something like that error or something like that because we already have some input there for the experiment.
It is the results which they are showing is the ideal conditions, not taken care of.
To give some idea, not actually like that you will get some error or something like that. So this is just to...
in certain experiments there is error is also there. In certain experiments you can calculate the percentage error also. Not incorporated in the energy band experiment, but in various other experiments which I have shown in the link of physics which are there to be demonstrated. You can check the percentage error button is also there, and the error can also be calculated with the real experiments.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Means standard value of the data is mentioned there, and if you calculate, so whatever is your experimental value, the experiment will give you the error with the standard value and the observed value.
Okay, thank you, sir. So next question is that learning parameter technique encouraged to be constructive and creative through the use of virtual labs. But how could we implement such ideas in our real life in the current situation?
No. The reverse engineering is being done, sir. All the experiments have been done in reality, and the real experiment, the data of these experiments is being replicated in the virtual lab experiments. No. So that is why they are very close to the real experiments.
Okay, sir. Thank you for giving such ideas and showing us how to perform experiment in virtual lab. So I think it will help our students. Thank you, sir.
AKTU examinations, Dr. Bipin told us that we are in very short window of 12 to 1.
Yes,
so I just quickly winded and show you the key points only. And I expect the students and faculty members of the Galgotia University to perform all these experiments and share these experiences to us.
Yeah.
And in the chat, I'm just sharing one. email ID.
Okay, sir.
Sir, actually, we are using this virtual lab only while during this semester to perform the experiments.
Yeah. So for any suggestions, modifications, any clarifications, you can mail us to this ID, vlab@recbanda.ac.in,
Okay,
or
sir.
you can mail at vlc@atu.ac.in.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your mail ID.
Both these email IDs are existing there, and a team of faculty members who are contributing from these 18 institutions which I have shown one slide are continuously monitoring these mails and are ready to help you and support you.
That's all with the question answer and session. Thank you, sir, for answering all the questions beautifully. I hope the audience will be satisfied with them now. Now I request the anchors to proceed the event further. Thank you, sir.
Now I request to Ms. Ayushi, kindly present the e-memento. Now I request to Professor Balani sir, kindly receive the e-memento. Kindly receive the e-memento from Department of Applied Sciences. Thank you, sir. And now request to Professor Ashok Tiwari sir, kindly receive the e-memento from the Department of Applied Sciences.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So I think that I have given my talks to various webinars to various colleges, but the Saraswati online Saraswati Vandana
Yes,
and
sir.
also this e-memento has given an extra edge to this webinar.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm seeing this for the first time, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All volunteers are very excited and very extraordinary for this type of event.
Yeah, sir. It is being reflected from each and every detailing of the activity and how smoothly you have managed all this activity.
Yeah.
And congratulations to all the volunteers also.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Ashutosh, Dr. Rajesh Tripathi this side.
Yeah, Rajesh, we have met.
We have met about 4 years back in Galgotias.
Yeah. I visited Galgotia then. I met Vidyut sir also and you also.
Yes. So it's nice to see you again and to meet you. We will obviously like to meet you personally whenever we have this pandemic over. So,
yeah, sure, sir. That was my first and last visit to the colleges in NCR because I visited several colleges at that time. I was not knowing, and I was very happy to see the infra available at the Galgotia.
No, we want you to be here in Galgotias, and we want to be a part of your virtual lab.
No, sure, sir. I have asked Dr. Vivin to give us the consent letter. As soon as it comes to us, we will incorporate. Send us various formalities.
Most of the things have been done.
Coming Monday.
So it's just a time that we are going to be with
collaborate.
You are welcome, sir. You are welcome. I welcome various faculty members to become the part of this development activity, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Just I want to ask one thing: whether if there is some gap in the this experiments, like in polarimeter, I have seen like in some experiments there are certain things which we are not able to get the exact readings, or we are not able to write the exact observations or the initial observations like temperature and all. So if there is certain gaps, so can we write to this in which the website or the email which you have given?
You can take the screenshot of the experiment and then prepare a small report on and send us the .doc file. What are the changes you are expecting and what is to be incorporated?
Sure.
Right.
With the help of this lab, obviously we in this semester and in the previous semester we have got a lot of help, and we have
exactly, sir. And we at REC Band and various government colleges are implementing the blend of Google Classroom and the virtual labs. So, because during filling the sessional masks also, it is a very great problem how to assess the students. When we have to give the sessional marks for the practical, then that is also a big question, that how to assess our students, and how many marks are to be given to the students. So what we used to do, we just share the link in the Google Classroom of the particular virtual lab experiment, and also create a Google form for the student, and ask our student to send a report on the Word file that they have performed the experiment, and take the screenshot. In this way, we are also in a condition to assess our students that they are performing the experiments or not, and also that gives a clear justification that how many marks are to be awarded to the students during these sessions. So,
thank you,
sir.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you. Now, Rishita Singh, kindly proceed. Bas 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah.
Now I request everyone to please open their cameras so that we can take a screenshot and save it as a token of memory. Okay, thank you for switching on your cameras. Soon feedback, as you can say, is already shared. So please make sure to fill it in order to receive an e-certificate on your email IDs. Now moving further, I invite Dr. Smriti Dwivedi for the oath of thanks.
Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to get an opportunity to propose vote of thanks to all the dignitaries and the participants present here. On behalf of the Department of Applied Sciences, GCT, I express my gratitude to our esteemed and distinguished speaker, Professor Kantesh Balani and Dr. Ashutosh Tiwari, for taking out time from their busy schedule and enlighten us with their knowledge. Today's session was full of knowledge. It gave deep insight into the topic and revealed some interesting facts. I am pretty sure the precious knowledge that speaker gave us will definitely help students, faculty, and researchers, as we all know that science or engineering education is incomplete without practical knowledge. And during this current scenario and in future also, virtual lab has become a powerful tool that enables students to conduct experiments at their comfort and anytime and in the safe environment, as it protects and prevents students from any kind of danger. Sir, your thoughts and insight on virtual lab enlighten our mind, and it may help the faculty, students, and researchers to overcome the problem faced by them in performing laboratories. Thank you, sir. I express my sincere thanks to our chairman, sir, Mr. Sunil Galgotia, and CEO, Mr. Dhruv Galgotia. I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to our director, Dr. Bijay Singh, and head of the department, Dr. Rajesh Tripathi, for their continuous guidance, support, and motivation. Thank you, sir. I want to thank all the participants present here and make this webinar a great success. Thank you, participants. My hearty thanks to organizer, Dr. Vipin Srivastava, Dr. Monica Malik, and Dr. Vidyut Malik. And my special thanks to our student volunteers, Abhishek Pandey, Anshika Nigam, Arpita, Abhishek Srivastava, Ishita Agarwal, Ishita Singh, Hamad, Kartike, Ankit, Daksh, Anush Pratap Singh, Kishan, and Ayushi Johari for working hard for the past few days to make this webinar successful. Before officially closing this webinar, I would like to recite a Sanskrit shlok for the well-being of mankind. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukh bhag bhavet. Means may all be happy, And may all be prosperous and happy. May all be free from illness. May all see what is spiritually uplifting. May no one suffer in any way. And again, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Smriti. Thank you, Professor Ashutosh Tiwari, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you, organizers.
Thank you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Now,
I request all the participants kindly fill the feedback form before leaving the webinar. Now the session is officially closed.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks to all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.